Quick disclaimer before this video begins, this is a fifth part to a series. You can find the link to the previous video in the description or the entire series by clicking the eye icon in the upper right corner. The year was now 2035. 2 years had gone by quickly and quietly. The MWW and Ohio both growing in strength and strategizing. It was a Cold War, constant fear, but nothing ever happened. Until July of 2035, when Ohio learned that Britain had created a device that they would finish within a month, that would counter Ohio's threats of pouring tea into the ocean. Ohio, realizing that they were running out of time, set up a three-part plan that would take over the coast of Europe along with Britain, eliminating a threat and gaining a foothold on European soil. The plan was nicknamed D-Day, except way less dramatic and can be more similarly compared to that time when we took over Poland in 15 minutes, or, for short, Duel Dak Bumskizirwap. The three-part plan consisted of the first step, separating Britain from outside help by using boats to barricade the waterways. The second part consisted of setting up a fleet which would hover near the shores a week before the battle in order to distract countries. They would then send in all of the soldiers to Portugal and have them work their way up the countries. After the troops take over Portugal and Spain, the fleet would begin to bombard the coast area of the Netherlands, before sending in more troops which would attack France's border at the same time. Afterwards, they would all focus on Great Britain and take it over. The plan was perfect on paper, and worked perfectly all the way up to attacking France, in which France ruined their plan by surrendering. The Ohioan troops entered France without resistance and headed towards the coastline to prepare for the siege on Britain. This is where things went wrong. The MWW had set up troops along the French border that began moving forward, following the Ohioan troops from a distance. The French troops began attacking the army from the front, while the MWW attacked from the back, effectively cornering the Ohioan troops, keeping them from escaping. While the troops were fighting inland, the seatime war began to have its effects on the world, with tides changing and sea storms becoming more common and worse than before, causing issues with the fleet of ships Ohio had stationed near the coast. A few ships sinking before Ohio had to pull the fleet back away from the coast where the storms were the worst, leaving the army temporarily behind. Ohio scrambled to come up with a counterplan to save their army. When they finally came up with a strategy, they settled on an ambitious plan which was the scale in which the world had never seen. Seizing civilian aircraft, Ohio briefly trained over 100,000 soldiers on parachuting and sent them off, airdropping them at several points throughout France, surrounding the French and MWW's army, forcing them to fight on two fronts. The largest group of soldiers consisted of 20,000, whose job was to pierce through the side and create an opening to evacuate the rest of the army. The plan was successful, so successful that the army disobeyed orders and continued fighting when they were supposed to have pulled out and returned to Ohio to regroup and replan. And as most things tend to do, it went downhill and fast.